Welcome to Week 11 YouTube channel, the Slam Playbook channel, where I talk about senior living, investments, opportunities, deals, analyzing senior living, underwriting senior living, how revenue works, how expenses work, how to increase NOI, and how investors win. But today, on this week's episode, I'm going to switch it up a little bit. I'm going to talk about myself. I talk about how senior living actually works, the operations, what to look for in a deal, the numbers, the residents, the care level. I've talked about that, and I'm going to continue talking about that on next week's episode. But today, I want to do a little turn and tell you about myself, how I started off working as a 12-year-old on my father's construction job site, to now, at 45 years old, owning $40 million in real estate. And that doesn't happen by chance. It happens by opportunity. I'm going to try to go through step by step, year by year, of my last 25, 30 years of how I got to where I am. The main point is highlighting the opportunity. You have to take opportunities when you see them. It might not be the right time, it might be the right time, but you have to understand when that opportunity is coming, when that opportunity is presented to you. Because there's one opportunity at age 18 or 19 that I saw and I pounced on. And that one decision made me who I am today. There are other pieces that contributed to it, but my investment career was based off one decision I made when I was 19 years old. So let's track back. Born and raised in Toronto, Canada. What a beautiful country it was. I'm not going to go deep in politics, but that country sucks right now. It sucks because there's no opportunity. There's lots of red tape. I got kids. I don't see a future for them. You can't even really own your own business without bureaucracy. You can't enjoy the money that you make, enjoy the fruits of your labor. You can't really succeed. You can make good money, but you can't really succeed. So I stayed in Canada for over 40 years. And 3 years ago, I moved down to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where money grows fast. Money moves fast. And people understand the speed of money. So looking back, I wish I got down here 10, even 20 years ago to capitalize on this real estate boom that Florida had just in the past 5-10 years alone. But let's go back to the start. Born and raised in Toronto, Canada. Great family, great upbringing. An immigrant father that came from Italy to Canada at the age of 17. And he didn't obviously come with money. He came with a couple dollars in his pocket, left his parents behind, came to live with his uncle and a brother. And yeah, it was hard. But he started his own business. He was an entrepreneur. Started opening a business with his brother. It was a mechanic shop. Then later evolved to working with his uncle as a painter for residential homes. Grew and scaled that to once having 20 employees under him, painting new subdivisions in the Toronto area. And then evolved to a general contractor, evolved to expand the business. And I'll get into that story very shortly. But picture a family of 4, mother, father, myself, and a younger brother, living in a 1,000 square foot home in Toronto. Immigrant father, doesn't really know the language, doesn't have too many connections, but he knew he had to come to Canada, to that place, to work. He put his head down, and what I remember is that he worked 7 days a week. Yes, I saw him, but I also saw him leaving and coming home to go to work. I was never pissed off. I was never upset. even at that young age, I understood what he was doing. He was making money for the family, building a better future for his kids, setting the foundation so that we can build on top of that. And each generation should be bigger, grow bigger, and think bigger. So his mentality was, I'm doing this for my family and for my kids. So when I was a new teenager, 12, 13 years old, he used to take me on the job sites. I used to be on the new construction job sites. Plywood everywhere, open walls, no drywall, muddy grounds, no grass, no driveway. It was just a mess. But I felt wanted. I felt like I was the cool guy, Dad's little helper. I didn't do much, but I remember one thing that he said to me. He wanted me to help out. But really, what can I do? I couldn't hang drywall, I couldn't paint, I couldn't set tiles. What am I really going to do? So he said to me, always have a broom in your hand. And then like months later, I asked him, what do you mean? He goes, you never know who's going to walk in. The customer, the owner, another tradesman. Always have a broom in your hand. Pretend that you're doing something. If there's nothing else to do, hold the broom. So that stuck with me until today. But being on that job site, it's where I saw him interact with those owners, with tradespeople, with his employees. How he joked around but got his way. How he delegated or how he took responsibility. How he took initiative to be the first one on the job site, to grab that paint roller, to be the first one to grab that paint roller, and to be a leader. Maybe he didn't know it. Maybe he did. But regardless, I saw that. I knew what I was seeing even at that young age. I might not have understood it, but I knew I saw someone taking initiative, taking a step forward. So imagine being an entrepreneur like my dad at a very young age, taking your little kid to the job sites. What do you really teach him? You teach him by action. What he sees, so what he thinks, what he sees, the son copies. So if he's setting an example, I should follow that example. So that was his way of teaching. Going through school, 8th grade, 9th grade. It was a summer of 9th grade where I don't talk about this too much, but it was a transition summer for me. Maybe in a way that you don't think is the right transition way. But I had major surgery on my stomach area. And that major surgery put me on the sidelines for a couple months. It put me out of soccer. It put me out of going out with my friends. It kind of kept me homebound for about 6 months. It just didn't have the energy, didn't recoup in time to go out and do the things that I like. Didn't have the chance to go to the job site with my father for those 6 months. But it was a blessing or a message in disguise. It showed the family bond, the family unity that my mother had, taking care of me, staying at home, missing out on her career and her opportunity, and allowing my father to go to work and do his thing. For some reason, I saw him come home a little bit earlier each day during that time period. But it was that period where it gave me the determination and understanding of what it takes. See my father get sick, come back up. Get sick, come back up. He never really missed a day of work. So I thought to myself, I'm sick, come back up. Let's go stronger. Let's go better. So when you're down and out for a long period of time of 6 months, you do a lot of thinking. You go through a lot of struggles. But the struggles aren't rewards. unless you actually understand them. If you just feel sorry for yourself, you sit back and want everything coming at you, you're never going to really push yourself. You're never really going to do better. And I took that opportunity to be stronger on the end of that recovery period. So when I'm all good, all healthy, back to school, I said to myself, this construction life, maybe it's not really for me. Do I really want to work 7 days a week like my father? Do I want to come home all dirty, sweaty, and tired, wake up at 6 a.m. and do it again the next day? I'm like, probably not. It's time to get a real teenage job. So at the age of 14 or 15, I got a job at a grocery store, pushing buggies. So I had to run outside, get the little carts, bring them back inside, put them in line. And in Canada, it snows. So I had to do that through the winter. It was so tough. It's not just pushing one buggy or one cart. You got to gather 10 or 20 of them and then push them and hope that that first one doesn't run away from you and hit a car. Imagine doing that in the snow, in the slush, in the cold. It was a job that I didn't really like, but I hustled. And I must have worked at that job for, I'm going to say 6 months, because I don't even think I hit a year, because I got a promotion. They saw the hustle that I was doing, the drive that I had to just do my job and excel. So they promoted me to go work in the dairy department. You know what the dairy department includes? The freezer department. So yeah, you put milk and yogurt and cheese on the shelf, but you're also responsible for the freezer, the frozen ice cream, the frozen pies, the frozen pizzas, whatever's in those freezers. You gotta go in the cooler, minus whatever, freeze your butt off, go outside on the shelves, and then stock the freezers. These gloves, the jackets, everything. It was a crazy job. Who else would have done it? Just the teenagers that really don't know how to express themselves or stand up for one another or stand up for each other. But regardless, it was a lesson in disguise. Because it was that time at the grocery store when I was working that I saw these managers at age 35, 45, 50 doing the same weird job that they're doing. I never really understood what exactly entailed. Placing orders, doing scheduling, making sure the displays look nice. What are they really doing? And you know what? I really didn't care what they're doing. I just know I didn't want to be them at age 35 or 45. I would have never seen myself as a dairy manager, as a produce manager, as a grocery store manager. Never in my life have I ever wanted to be one of those people. So working at a grocery store allowed me to see what I didn't want to become. It allowed me to see that there's a different future and a different path for me. Working in the grocery store for a 3-year period and knowing that I didn't want to become that manager and grow within the company, I had a connection through my mother who worked at a local bank, who knew people at the bank, and she got me an interview at a local top 6 bank in Canada, a local branch. And that's where I thought, I'm the smartest kid in the world. I'm age 17. I have a job at the bank, and I'm going to make lots and lots and lots of money. Because back then, working at a bank was considered a high-profile job, or at least a lot of buddies of mine thought that I made a lot of money. If I remember correctly, it was about $17, $18 an hour back then to be a teller. It wasn't bad money, better than the grocery store, but it's not all that fancy glitz and glamour that people think happens when you're working at the bank. But it taught me a lot of lessons. And the bank is where I made my move, learned what an opportunity is and I took that opportunity. Back then at the bank, you had to dress nicely. Dress shirt, tie, not really a suit, but if you're a manager, you can wear a suit. But dress shirt, tie, and nice pair of dress pants. You looked presentable, even as a teller. So you felt wanted, you felt respected when you're dressing up, entering your work at the bank. You felt a sense of respect. But one common theme I noticed working at the bank as a teller was I saw this one turning point in my life that I attribute to the one thing that changed my life. I saw the same customers walk in, whether it's every Thursday afternoon, whether it's every Saturday morning, whether it's every Monday afternoon. It was always the same customer around that same time on that same day. It was very repetitive. Back then, there was lineups of customers. So it's not abnormal to see 50 people in line on a Saturday morning when we opened. But it was those same customers that I noticed coming in with the same amount of check. The dollar amount on their check was the same amount, $1,000, $1,200, $1,500, whatever that amount was. It was always the same. And month over month over month, I never understood why it's the same amount. I got to see their bank account on my screen. So they had good money in the bank account. And that dollar amount didn't really equate to what they had in their bank account. They must have been doing something else. So I started talking to one or two of these individuals. And one of them said, "This check is a rent check." And stupid me, I said, "Oh, you're renting?" Because my parents never rented. I just thought renting was for poor people. He goes, "No, I don't rent. I'm a landlord that collects rent." I'm like, wow. So you own a house that's not your family home, and someone pays you to be in that house, and it covers your mortgage, it covers your expenses, and you potentially make money, and you really don't do anything? Wow, who would have thought? So as the months went on, I started asking a little bit more questions to these people with rent checks, landlords as they're known. And they started educating me on how easy it is to be a landlord, and that you should just take that chance, take that initiative. So I was talking with my parents one day. I said, "Why don't we buy a rental property?" My immigrant father says, "Are you crazy? Why waste your money? You work hard for your money. Keep your money in your pocket. Keep your money under the mattress. Don't give your money to anyone." You're right, but why not grow money? Why not make money? Why not let money work for you? If these guys at the bank can do it, why can't we? He had a hard head. He was Italian. I get where he came from. His answer to me was not the wrong answer, but it was also not the right answer that I wanted. So another customer at the bank was a lawyer, an attorney in the real estate world. So I started talking to him, getting to know him. We became pretty close. And I started asking him the legality of buying a real estate investment property. And he kind of made it seem very simple. He's like, "Go buy it, go sign it, give me the documents. I have 10 days to review it. If I find something that's not appropriate or I don't like, you can cancel the deal." I said, "Oh, wow, that's kind of weird. Interesting. No one taught me that." A couple of months later, I go down to downtown Toronto. This was 25 years ago. Picture downtown Toronto as a blank slate, a blank canvas. I don't know the exact amount, but it must have had 10 buildings in the whole downtown core at that time. They were starting to become new construction, new condo development, new digging, new permits coming up, but there's never really nothing built at that time. I recently went to New York to see the 1994 World Cup, and I noticed New York was full of high rises, full of buildings, full of people, full of real estate. And I thought, if Toronto is close to New York, relatively close, about an 8-9 hour drive, a 2-hour plane ride, why can't Toronto become a mini version of New York? Even if it's half the size, it can still grow. It still has the potential. This is an opportunity that I saw. And I went to a sales office where they were selling new condo units. I walked in, sales guy took me on a tour of the model suite, of the rendering, of the 3D model. He talked his game. I really didn't care what he had to say because he's obviously selling it. He's obviously not telling 100% the truth. But I didn't care because I knew from the legal conversation I had with the attorney that I got 10 days to back out of this. So I signed the documents, wrote my check deposit that he couldn't cash after 10 days anyways. And I was about to walk out of that sales office. And the agent said to me, "You're a young kid. This is an opportunity of a lifetime. Why aren't you buying 3 or 4 of these? Why don't you buy one today, buy one next year, buy one the year after, and the year after?" And he was the one that said, take the equity out of one when it gets constructed, when it gets sold to you. It's going to become more valuable. There's equity in there. And then go buy the next one. Use that as a down payment. Wait for that to be built, take out the equity, buy a third one. So in 3, 4, 5 years, you can have 3 to 5 condo units. Half of me thought he was just pitching me a sales deal. The other half thought, that's a great idea. No one ever taught me this. You don't learn this in school. And me, if you know me, I really didn't even care about school. I went there, I showed up, did my work, whatever. I really didn't care. My brain was working at a different speed, processing different information. So I signed that contract to buy this new condominium unit. Came home, I left the contract in my car. I didn't even show my parents. Didn't tell them where I went, didn't tell them what I did. They just knew I was out for that Saturday morning. But I did bring that contract to that attorney that I met at the bank. I said, "Hey, Hess, can you review this?" It took about 1 day at the most, a couple hours. "Is that good to go?" "Yeah, sign it, looks good. Do you have the money?" "All right, let me know if you need help at closing." WTF. Now I'm stuck with this condominium. I got to make 3 down payments in the next 9 months. What the hell? Where am I going to get this money? So I had the initial, at that time was only $5,000 down payment. I had the initial $5,000. But the next $5,000 down payment was in like 60 days. Working at the bank, I got a line of credit. That line of credit was for exactly $5,000 because that's all that was approved to me. Use that $5,000 from the line of credit, put it as a second down payment. The third down payment was somewhere in the range of $10,000 or $15,000, but that wasn't happening until like 6 months from then. So it allowed me to save up enough money and pay off my line of credit, and those 2 combinations allowed me to pay for that third and final down payment. So now, almost a year after I signed the documents to acquire this unit, I've spent $25,000 on down payments, and I don't have anything to call my own because it's a new construction. It wasn't built yet. And that was another point that I understood. Real estate is a waiting game. You're not going to make money as soon as you sign a paper. The thing wasn't even built. If I remember correctly, I had to wait 3 years for this condo to be built. Then another year for them to give me occupancy. But in that time, I didn't invest a single penny into it. I got the mortgage from the bank that I worked at, and the overall purchase price was under $200,000, and including a parking spot and a locker. I thought I hit the jackpot. I thought if this thing goes up to $250,000, I made money. On closing, these things were selling for $320,000. Yes, it's 4 years later, but think of the flip side. At that time, I'm 23, 24 years old. I didn't invest anything else except my initial deposits. And I made $150,000 in equity, $120,000. So I knew then that the real estate was my game to play, that I wanted to invest, build up a portfolio of rental units. So that one condo was increased in value, allowed me to pull out equity. I closed, I refinanced, and allowed me to use that refinancing as a deposit for my second purchase. Waited a couple years, third purchase, fourth purchase, fifth purchase. All the while building up a small single-family real estate portfolio of 7 rental properties, all under the age of 37. That age 37 number still hits home with me. It still is a thorn in my side because I set out a goal at age 25 to own 7 rental properties by the age 35. And I fell short a couple years. But I didn't let that deter me. I didn't let that stop me. I used that as more motivation to do better in my general contracting company that I'll talk about, and now into my real estate investment business. Don't dwell on the past. Don't get upset about not hitting your goals. Just work harder, work differently, and just know that each little step contributes to a win. So working at the bank, I was there for 6 years. And it was the last 2 years where I was the unhappiest. I said, this place sucks. At that time, I got promoted to a financial advisor. I had my own little fancy office with a window, a desk, a chair. I was talking to clients coming in, customers wanting debt, customers wanting investment advice, customers wanting mortgages, whatever the case may be. But I hated it. The reason why I hated it is because I had monthly targets to hit and I wasn't hitting them. Why? Not because I wasn't a good salesperson, it's because I didn't believe in the product I was selling. Picture me in my office, my desk, the customers on the other side of the table, they're coming in and they have $100,000 in debt. I type in their information on my computer, it pops up. This customer gets pre-approved for a $10,000 line of credit. And if I sell it to them, I get points towards my goal. So the more times I do that, the more likelihood it is to reach my goal. But think about it. They're already in $100,000 in debt. Now I'm going to offer them $10,000 line of credit. If they can't get out of the debt they have, and they've accumulated that over the years, what are they going to do with $10,000 of debt? I didn't think it was the right thing to do. It was not the right product for them. What I should have done, and what I started doing the last couple months of my employment at the bank, was trying to advise them, as my title said, financial advisor, advise them to pay down your debt, to not take on more debt, to use your savings or forced savings to pay off your debt, and to get yourself out of the hole. Maybe a little investments and take that money or those dividends or that income and pay down your debt. Pay down your highest debt first and work your way. Maybe you don't need that fancy car. Sell that car and buy a little cheaper car. Maybe you don't need that big house. You can't afford the mortgage. Sell it and buy a smaller house. Reset, restart. So that's the advice that should have been given, but that advice doesn't get you towards your quarterly or monthly goals when working at the bank. So I knew then and there that the bank world wasn't for me. I equated working at a bank like working at a shoe store. Working at a shoe store, that pretty girl tells you all the time, oh, those shoes look good on you. Of course they do. She wants you to buy them. Working at a bank, yeah, you need that line of credit. It's a good rate. It's the same outcome. The person doesn't need it. Same outcome. So selling shoes and working at a bank, to me, are exactly the same. So one of my managers at the bank, he offered me a job in downtown Toronto, learning to be a stockbroker. And I thought about it. It was a pretty cool dream job, working on the floor, or learning to be able to work on the floor, working in that environment with high money, a lot of action, a lot of reward. But I thought of it and I said, no, I'm going to decline that offer, because I saw the lifestyle that those people had. They had to take the train from home to downtown Toronto. From downtown Toronto at the office, back home. From home to the office. From the office, back home. And at this time, we moved just outside of Toronto. So where I lived, the train station from my house to the downtown office was a good 50 to 60-minute ride. Do you think I wanted to do that each way, back and forth, for the rest of my life? Hell no. I saw these guys grumpy on the train, going there, coming back, going there, coming back. You have to wake up early. You have to come home late. You miss your family, you miss your friends, you miss opportunities. What are you really doing? Is that the life you really want? Is that the life you want to show your kids? I didn't see my father on the train going to work for an hour one way, an hour the other way. I saw him at work for more hours, probably making more money, having more opportunities, meeting more people, networking with wealthy people, but he was never stuck on a train for 2-3 hours a day. To me, that whole mentality of the corporate world never made sense to me. So I declined that downtown job. And then I decided a couple months later to leave the bank entirely. I didn't want to sell shoes to that customer. I didn't want to sell debt to that customer. I wanted to be my own entrepreneur. Flexibility, accountability, because I had that drive to do bigger and better, because I saw an opportunity and I knew the opportunity's there. All these customers I saw come into the bank, all of the successful ones were all self-employed. Hands down, all the successful ones were self-employed. So I went home one night and I said, Mom and Dad, I'm not working at the bank. My mom's like, why? The bank is the best job in the world. It's secure, it's safe, it's good money, it's this, it's that. You can move up. I have friends at the bank. They can help you move up. They can do this. My father's cousin was high up in the bank, this and that. And I said, Mom, it's not for me. Turned to my dad. Dad, I don't want to work at the bank. He goes, okay, wake up tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. and you come with me. I said, can I have a week off before I start? He goes, no. If you're not going to the bank, you come to work with me. So the next day, 6 a.m., I woke up, had breakfast for 4 minutes, got changed into, I don't even know what clothes I had for the construction site, and I went to work with him. And I didn't know what to do, but I think I knew I liked it because it was something different. It was not just sitting in an office with 4 walls, looking out a window, hoping this customer comes in that's going to help you hit your target. I saw him building a wall, putting drywall on the wall, painting a wall, putting baseboards, doing something that you're creating. And that creation is the end result of your happiness and the customer's happiness. You're providing a service. The weeks went on, the months went on, and every day when I woke up at 6 a.m., because we left the house at 6:30, because we had to be on the job site at 7. Every day, I liked that job more and more. It wasn't always easy. It was a tough physical job. But the adrenaline rush you get when you're working hard, when you're accomplishing something, when you're doing something that you truly have passion for, that you like at such a young age. At that time, I must have been 26, 25, something around that age. And I truly liked it. It was hard, but I enjoyed it. So it came to a point where on the job site, it was just my father and I. Just two people on the job site. And he was teaching me. He actually brought me close to him, showed me how to hammer a nail, showed me how to paint a wall, showed me how to screw in the drywall, showed me how to set tiles. He was taking the time out of his day to show me how to do that particular task. How many bosses can do that? 99% of the time, you're just shoved in the role and you try to figure it out with whatever system and information they give you. But the appreciation I have now for what he did to take time out of his day to teach me, I'm looking back, I'm thinking, Dad, you're crazy. You could finish that job in 1 week. It took us 2 because you had to teach me. He obviously might have lost money or not made the money that he expected, but he took the time to teach me. That is a lesson of patience. He's giving his knowledge away for free. A quote he used to tell me is, back when I was growing up, you had to pay the professor to teach you. Meaning, if you want to be a mechanic at a young age, you have to pay that head mechanic who has more experience to get his knowledge. You have to pay him, not the other way around. He goes, this country's backwards. The people with the knowledge have to pay the employees with no knowledge. How does that make sense? He was right. But unfortunately, the Western world, that doesn't work like that. Or else we would have no capitalism. But learning from him, growing with him, trying to evolve the business, it doesn't come without some butting of the heads. There was times when I was on the job site and he was throwing hammers at my legs, at my ankles, throwing those like scrapers, those putty scrapers from the drywall, throwing them across the room, or trying to like land them just right in front of me so I jump out of the way. There's times where we just got in a fight. Not physical, just got in an argument. I want it this way, you want it that way. Let's do it here. Why don't we do it here? Why are you wasting time? It was all those things that accumulated to me, I don't want to say knowing more than him, but understanding more. And in the context is understanding more that there's more opportunity out there. Because a lot of these arguments was me wanting to call another trade to do that task. Call a plumber, call a tile setter, call an electrician. And he's like, no, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to save money. Don't give your money away. It's our money. Keep it under your mattress. Keep it in your bank account. Keep it safe. It's our money. We can do every job we want. It's our own money. And I said, Dad, we have to expand. We have to grow. Why are we stuck on one job site for 3 months? Because it's just 2 people doing all of the tasks. We're the one demoing. We're the one building the wall. We're the one running electrical, running plumbing, doing the drywall, doing the painting, doing the plastering, doing the baseboards. We're the ones doing this. I said, Dad, if 2 people spend 3 months on one job, Why can't we sub it out, get the electrician, plumber, get all the tradesmen, and we can now control 4 jobs that finish in 3 months. You control 2, I control 2. And we make more money because we're doing 4 homes at a time, 4 larger jobs at a time. And then we can scale from there. We can do 6 jobs at a time, 8 jobs, 10 jobs, hire project manager, hire site super, hire internal general handyman. There's endless possibilities to expand, to grow a business. And he had the hard head mentality of money is ours, why give it away? And that was one thing I never understood from any immigrant at that time. They always wanted to hold their money close to them. But the ones that succeeded in the Toronto area and that are multi-millionaires today are the ones that invested in real estate, in land, in businesses. These families are still around today in the Toronto area, worth millions, multi-million dollars, because they took a chance when they immigrated, when they were younger, when they might have not had the knowledge, but they took that chance, they took the risk, and they stuck with it. I'm sure it was hard, but they stuck with it. And now look at them. So I was always in the mentality of, let's grow, let's get bigger. So those fights on the job site turned into one day, I said, Dad, here's a piece of paper. That paper said, I'm resigning. I signed it and I needed his signature. Not because I was better than him, it's because I wanted him to know that I'm serious, that I was going on my own because I wanted something bigger. I wanted to do something bigger. Not that I didn't appreciate him, but we weren't aligned in the vision. Without much argument, he signed that piece of paper that same night. What does that mean? It means I have no job tomorrow. It means I got to start my own general contracting company, competing with my dad. In the same market, pretty much doing the same thing. And you can imagine how that went. It wasn't too much fun at the start. But slowly, got business cards, got t-shirts, bought my own work truck, and I started growing my company. Did 1 little job, 2 little job, 5 little job, a bigger job, and just kept scaling. And I think it was about 2 years in my new company, I was working from 7 a.m. I didn't come home till like 9, 10 p.m. for months at a time, 6 days a week minimum. I had to take Sundays off because I was just beat up. There was the odd Sunday I went in for a couple hours, but 7 a.m. till 9 or 10 p.m. for months and months and months at a time. I was about 33 at the time. Had my first child, my daughter, and she was 3 years old. She could barely talk. She was walking around, whatever she was doing. My wife stayed home to take care of her. I'm like, she doesn't know who I am. I'm going to keep working. So those late nights didn't go so well. There was one night I came home. It was around dinner time. It was a little bit earlier than my late nights. And my daughter at 3 years old turns to me, Daddy, why aren't you home to eat dinner with us? I said, what are you talking about? You're 3 years old. How do you understand that Daddy's not home, not eating dinner with you? Mom's making you dinner, eat with her. Me growing up with my parents, we always ate as a family. The 4 of us at the dinner table every single night. Doesn't matter if my dad was tired or we were busy or this and that. We ate at the dinner table every single night. And those are the values that I didn't really understand. My 3-year-old daughter understood. So that day to me hit hard when I was 33 years old. Daddy, why aren't you eating dinner with us? Why aren't you home for dinner? I said, damn, this kid's smart. So next day, woke up early, came home late. Day after, woke up early, came home late. I don't even know if I had dinner with her until my next health event. A couple months after what my daughter said to me, it was my best friend's birthday, April 13th. And we called each other every single day on our birthdays. And this birthday of his, I completely forgot. I woke up and I don't even know what day it was. There was months at a time that I show up on the job site like a zombie. Even the electrician saying, "Wow, you look tired." I said, "Yeah, Frank, I don't even know what I have to do today. I have my list. I don't even know what I have to do." I was up all night thinking of my list, thinking of what to do, who to call, who to schedule. My mind was going crazy. It was fast paced, fast action. I had so much to do because I was the only one in the company. Everything else was subbed out, contracted. So I missed my best friend's birthday. I didn't even call him. Next day I woke up and I remembered that I missed his birthday. How bad of a feeling it is to call your best friend the next day to wish him a belated birthday because you forgot. Who the hell forgets their best friend's birthday? I truly, honestly forgot his birthday because I was so messed up in the head that I had to think about work, and survival. Just get the job done, make that money. This was April 13th. I was 33 years old. And you know what? Woke up the next day early, came home late. Woke up the next day early, came home late. Then it was end of May, beginning of June. One day I couldn't get out of bed. My side was so painful. A couple hours later, I couldn't even talk. I was in so much pain. I was getting these cramps. You know when you get those leg cramps and those ankle cramps, and I started getting like arm cramps. Those muscles were like muscle spasms. I thought, what the hell is going on? Stayed in bed all day that first day. Stayed in bed all day the second day. Couldn't even go downstairs at my own house to eat dinner with my family. I was just shaking uncontrollably because of my muscle spasms. My sides were so painful, such strong, sharp pains. My head was spinning. It was about that third day that my wife finally convinced me to go to the hospital and check myself out. Because the days before, I kept telling her, "I'm not going to the hospital. I'll be okay. Just give me some water." I couldn't even keep down the water she was giving me. Nothing stayed in my body. My body rejected any liquid, anything. My wife had to call my brother to come to my own house, walk up my own stairs in my own bedroom to pick me up out of bed and walk me down those same stairs and put me in his car to drive to the hospital. I couldn't even stand up. I couldn't even feel any part of my body because I was in so much pain. Go to the hospital, they put me on a stretcher. They do whatever test. They hook me up to IV right away. That test came back saying your kidney levels was, I'm going to use the number 50. If they're at 47 or 48, you go to dialysis. My kidney levels were so low that I was this close to dialysis for the rest of my life. I don't know by God's miracle or whatever happened that day and why I ended up at the hospital at that exact time when they caught it or where they can get me back to the good side. I don't know why, but God had a different plan for me and knew that I can do bigger and better things. And this is a lesson learned. Stayed in the hospital for about 2 days, recovered. I had severe dehydration. So there's dehydration and severe dehydration where you can't get back out of it. You're so dehydrated that your body's rejecting everything and that everything's starting to fail inside you. All the organs are starting to fail. And I think if I'm correct, it starts with your kidneys first. So they caught it at a good time, got me IV, started drinking liquids, and then I was back to normal in a couple of days. But it changed my whole perspective, my whole look on life, that moment and those events that led up to it, my daughter noticing I'm not home for dinner, missing my best friend's birthday, ending up in the hospital. For what? For working for that customer to make $100? I was telling my father years ago, let's expand and sub everything out. And here I am working late hours on a job site, helping out the other trades. What was the point? It didn't make sense from what I told my father to what I ended up doing. So those events and that hospital visit, I said to myself, I'll never miss a dinner with my family again. That customer can wait. Tomorrow's another day. Tomorrow will be fixed. This allowed me to set a different expectation with the customer. Instead of a 1 month timeline, it was a 5 week timeline. Instead of a 2 month timeline, it was a 3 month timeline. I elongated the timeline. Eventually, when I had enough leads coming in, I increased my price to make up for that profit difference. But it allowed me to spend time with my family and have dinner with my family. Entrepreneurship is about flexibility, is about freedom, is about leaders. It's about doing things at your pace, on your time, the way you think it should be done. So at this time in my life, I have everything organized in my company. My family's doing great. Second child is born. I got my son born. Business is booming. I have 3 jobs on the go at the same time, all at different stages, staggered. The demo guy, the electrician, the plumber, the drywall, all these trades are staggered. I have great flow, making great money, living life, going on vacations. Like I said before, I have 7 rental properties at this time. Everything was good. Check up on the rental properties. I do the maintenance on the rental properties. Everything's perfect until it's not. Until this COVID situation hit. Hate me or love me, COVID ruined Canada. It allowed me to open my eyes to a bigger picture of why am I on this planet? Am I here just to be a robot and go to work and make money? Am I here to make a difference? Am I here to make a change? Am I here to improve my life, others' lives? Why am I here? What is my purpose? And that whole start of the COVID situation from 2020 to 2022 was an eye-opener. Canada was all locked down. Kids couldn't go to school. People couldn't go to work. Small businesses were lost. People were losing money all the time. It was a bad situation. And I was stuck at home with my kids. Because if they can't go to school, means I can't go to work, means I gotta watch them. And I said, what kind of education are they going to have? What kind of life are they going to have? What kind of opportunities are they going to have? And I started thinking this in my head. What's their end goal? If they're stuck in this world at that time, having school from home, they're not learning nothing. I'm the one teaching them. What are they learning? What's their opportunity? So I made a choice to start the process of exiting Canada because I have 2 kids that are under the age of 11 at that point that are about to begin their teenage years, about to find their identity, about to transform the first phase of their life. And I don't want them stuck at home, lack of education, lack of opportunity, lack of friendship. They couldn't even go outside during this COVID time. This whole ideology was crazy. So we decided to make a move and apply for an investment visa in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And this is where the whole mentality changed. My kids came down with me, my wife came down with me, we all came down for the first time in 2023. I've never even been to Florida in my life as a kid. Never had the opportunity to go to Florida, never really had interest. My father used to take us to Italy to see his family a lot, so we never really went south of the border that often, especially never in Florida. My first time living in Florida was July in 2023. My first visit to Fort Lauderdale was about 9 months before that. I think it was November of 2022. My first time in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. A year before that, in 2021, I went to Tampa for a family vacation. That's it. So coming here with no family, no friends in the Fort Lauderdale or even the Florida area, just the four of us, came down, started a new life. We took that risk because the opportunity that we saw. We saw the lack of opportunity in Canada, and we saw a huge opportunity in Florida. I was making good money in my renovation company. My wife was making good money where she was working at the hospital. But my kids had no opportunity. They had no future in Canada. So I made a huge decision and we came down here. And that decision was a pivotal moment in my investment career. We got here before the school season started. Kids were having fun, going to the beach, doing a little road trip here and there before the first day of their first school year in Florida. They were nervous as hell the first time I dropped them off. But hey, as a parent, you got to let them go. They got to figure it out. Pick them up that first day of school in a new country, new state. Pick them up. They walk out the door with the biggest smile on their face. Daddy, I love this place. I love this school. I met this friend and that friend and Jimmy and Bob and Sandra, whatever. They were so happy on their first day of school in a new country. I said, what a relief. All of that stress on my shoulders was wiped away because then I knew that they were comfortable, and then I knew I had nothing to worry about and no decisions to be made right then and there. Imagine they didn't like it. Imagine they came back crying, I want to go back home. I don't like this place. Then I got to make a big decision. Do I go back or do we push forward? But their ability to understand the chance that our family took allowed us to grow even bigger in the state of Florida as a family, as a unit. And it allowed me to have that clear mind to make the right choices for the next chapter of my life. Picture this, moving to Florida, kids are in school. I got nothing to do. I exited Canada so fast that I didn't even line up a job for me. I didn't want to be a GC again. I didn't want to start all over again. I didn't know what to do. But I knew I liked the beach. I knew I liked palm trees. I knew I liked the sand. So hey, every couple of days, I drove to the beach. Went for long walks on the beach. Lied on the beach. Suntanned. Went in the water a little bit. I don't like swimming. But for 3-4 days a week, for 2 months straight, I either lied on the beach or went for a long walk on the beach. And that's when my mind was clear, my vision became even more clear, and the drive inside me was unstoppable. Because I knew exactly what I wanted to do with my life, and I knew what I wanted to become 10 years from then. A real estate mogul, a Donald Trump. I want to own as much real estate as I can because I love it. I love the investment opportunity. I love the anticipation. I love the drive. I love signing your name on that ownership document. I love everything about it. I love controlling the real estate, seeing how the numbers work, the leverage you get from the equity when it increases in appreciation. But I just didn't know how to do it. I didn't want to buy single family residence anymore. I wanted to buy 50 unit, 100 unit buildings that have all these tenants in there that I can own and operate and contribute to a life and a business that I want to call my own. So I was on the beach and an ad came up on my phone. Rod Khleif boot camp, $99, 3 days in Orlando. Learn how to buy multifamily real estate. Damn, this algorithm thing really works. I didn't even search that on my phone. It just came up by me thinking about it. My affirmations came to life on my phone. So I spent $99. I went to this boot camp from Rod Khleif in Orlando. I didn't even know how to get to Orlando. I was so ignorant when I first got here that I took a plane from Fort Lauderdale to Orlando because I didn't know that you can drive there. I knew you could. There was a road connecting. I just didn't even think about driving. I thought the coolest thing to do was fly. So it actually took me longer to fly from Fort Lauderdale to Orlando because of the on and off of the plane and waiting in line and security than it does for me to drive there now. I'm up there at least once a month to visit my existing properties. So that boot camp, walked inside. There's about 500, 600 people. I was nervous, so I sat in the middle. I didn't want to be at the back. I couldn't be at the front. I was so nervous. That was my first ever conference in my life. My parents had never been to a conference. My friends never taught me to go to a conference. The circle that I was in never has been to a conference. So I didn't know what the hell a conference was, but I knew I wanted to learn how to buy multifamily real estate. So I sat there, and the first thing he talks about is, what's your purpose? What's your dreams? What's your goals? I said, this is not how you buy real estate. I came there with a notepad expecting to write down formulas and numbers, and he's going to tell me the secret weapon on how to buy a real estate. It has to start with a vision. It has to start with a purpose. It has to have a why, and it has to have a reason. If you don't have these, you can't connect to what you want to do to buy real estate. You can do anything as long as you have the purpose, the reason, the why, and the motivation. So the first day was just all about mental fortitude, pushing over your boundary of fear, jumping over the hurdle of I can't do it, going past that red tape of this is too big for me. Having mental clarity to understand what's next. Understand it's only a chance. It's only a choice, not the end of your life. So day one was all this mental mind games that blew me away. Went back to my hotel room that night and I was exhausted. My mind was spinning in 100 different directions. And then day two, he starts talking about real estate. A little bit, but starts talking about real estate. And it was day three that I finally took the biggest investment of my life. I invested in myself. I paid Rod Khleif to teach me how to buy multifamily real estate. To me, coming from an immigrant family, having my own little company in Toronto that's generating $2 to $3 million a year, I never invested in myself. I just did it myself. I just took opportunities. I learned lessons. I pushed forward. I struggled. I cried. I cheered. I laughed. I never understood that I can be that millionaire. But investing in yourself was the biggest investment I made. Put my deposit down, got in Rod Khleif's program, and that changed my life. A, I met amazing people in this program that got me to different levels to where I am now. B, I understood exactly how the big boys do it. How the Grant Cardones of the world actually buy these properties. What a syndication really is. How general partners make their money. How limited partners make their money. How the business is actually structured in the legal sense. It was such a learning curve. I took his 90-day action plan and did every single step for 90 days. And that shit works. It really works. If you stick with it, if you're committed to it, if you're consistent, and then if you have the confidence to go on that Facebook group and ask the question. And let me tell you, before I joined Rod Khleif's mastermind, I never even had a Facebook page ever. I had to create a Facebook page for my own to enter his Facebook group. I was never on social media. I didn't even know how these things work. But I did it because I wanted to grow. I wanted that opportunity. I wanted that chance. I bet on myself. I have to prove to myself that I can do it, that this is possible. In the first year alone, I got over 200 doors closed under my name, mine and my partner's names. Within the first 4 months, I purchased my first property in Tucson, Arizona, with the help of more experienced partners, but I was part of that purchase. I was an owner on the document that owns this property. It was $13.5 million. I was thinking, what the hell am I doing? But it's just another zero. If you understand the business, if you have experienced people in your corner, if you have a group that you can fall back on to ask questions, if you have that safety net, and if you have that belief in yourself, $13.5 million is just a number on a piece of paper. The underwriting, the business plan, the strategy, that's what makes it drive. That's what makes it successful. It's not the fear of $13 million that makes it successful. It's everything you've done before that point, before you sign that document. You have to do everything beforehand. The due diligence, the exploration, the hiring of the property management company, the business plan, the marketing strategy, the financing components, that part of the strategy. You have to understand how it's all put together, what pieces of the puzzle actually work. Fast forward to today, where I own and operate 250 senior living beds across 3 states, including my multifamily portfolio of over 200 units that I own, totaling $40 million assets under management, 650 doors or beds under my ownership, and I'm in acquisition mode. I'm expanding the Maravita Senior Living brand across Central Florida. I look at mid-market, undervalued, 50 to 100 bed buildings, communities that I can acquire, reposition, renovate, utilize the lack of either operational oversight or mismanaged. I look at the financials to see how I can move the needle. I have a plan of what my first week, first month, 3-month, first quarter, and first year look like. I build out a 5-year pro forma on what the returns are going to be for my investors. We raise capital. We've raised over $7 million on our last 4 properties that we closed in December of 2025. That is incredible. These are numbers that I never thought was possible for myself even 5-10 years ago. Never thought imaginable when I was working at the bank, looking at that guy bringing in the rent check of $1,000. Never did I think this was possible, selling that debt to that customer on the other side of the desk. Never did I think this was possible when I was in that hospital bed trying to not go to dialysis. Never. Until I did. Until it is possible. You have to find the opportunities. You have to take the opportunities when they come to you. You have to build on the opportunities. And you have to go down that path of fear, awkwardness, unfamiliarity, uncomfortable. You have to do it to see a little bit light at the end of the tunnel. I'm not saying I'm a multi-millionaire. I'm saying I succeeded, I'm succeeding, I'm successful because the opportunities and the chances that I took, that I saw in front of me. If I never wanted to work at the bank, I would have never met those people with the rent checks. I would have never had 7 real estate investment properties on my own. I would have never been in a position to get married at age 28, 29. I would have never been in a position to start my own business on my own. I would have never been in a position to stay home for 2 weeks when I was in the hospital and recovering. I would have never been in a position to move my whole family, my whole life from one country to another. I would have never been in a position to have the mentality to invest in myself. I would have never been in a position to buy over $40 million worth of real estate if I didn't believe in myself and take that opportunity. The story of people's lives can go in different directions. But the successful people that are telling their story, that I listen to, that you listen to, they all have one thing in common. They bet on themselves. They bet on themselves to take that opportunity, to take that risk, to take that next step forward. You think that Patrick Bet-Davids of the world are not fearful? Even now, I'm sure he gets scared on his next venture, but he takes that next step. When he was starting out, long hours, lots of travel, lots of rejections, but he pushed through it because he believed in himself and what he was doing. Opportunity is real. It's everywhere. And that's the reason why I moved countries, to give my kids an opportunity in life. If you're lucky enough to watch this whole video and be at this point towards the end, I want to say thank you for listening to the story, for listening to how my life has gone. I'm 45 years old. It's not the end. It's just the beginning. There's more to come. I'm in a huge expansion mode. If you know anyone who owns or operates senior living properties in the Florida market, reach out to me, connect with me. I can buy them. If you know anyone who's a high net worth individual or has additional cash to invest, that wants to invest in alternative investments such as senior living, connect with me, reach out to me. We can walk through the process, the underwriting, the pro forma, what returns actually are. How do you get the returns? How do you get the money? This is something I'm extremely passionate about. I believe in. This whole industry of senior living has a great opportunity to grow. There's about 20% of the population in a couple of years will be 65 or older. 18% of that population is going to need some sort of care. 12% of that 18% is going to have some sort of mental illness, Alzheimer's, dementia, whatever it is. These are huge numbers. If you put it on a scale of the US population of 400 plus million, these are huge numbers we're talking about. And the funny thing is, the investment thesis on this all has to do with the supply. According to Nick, they say 60% of major markets in the US have 0 permits allocated for senior care new development. That is crazy. You have a huge demand, like I mentioned about the senior baby boomers, and a huge lack of supply. As an investment, what do you think is going to happen? The opportunity is there. The opportunity is real. Connect with me if you want to come on this ride, if you want to invest alongside me. Let me know your thoughts. Subscribe to this channel. It's a Slam Playbook channel. I'm your host, Roberto Carabetta. This was one of my favorite sessions, my favorite ones I've done in a long time. Subscribe, give me a thumbs up. Stay tuned for next week where I dive deeper into senior living, the operations, and the demand that is creating. Thanks for viewing. See you later.